Bradley and Kayla Banning. How are we doing today?
Hello.
Good. How are you doing?
This is so fun. I'm so glad to meet you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
nice to
having
meet
us.
you.
Yeah, this is fun. So, you guys are some Texas Catholic cowboy country music singers, right?
Yeah.
Well, Bradley is. I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
along for the ride.
you're in it.
She's
So
part of it now too.
Yeah.
awesome. No, it's still fun, man. They're like now that combines like three of my favorite things: being Catholic, being cowboy, and country music.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
So
perfect.
yeah, no, we got a lot of ground to cover because we haven't met before. This is our first time meeting,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
we do have some common friends. I think that's
Yeah.
probably how our paths cross. So Paul and Susan Walter out in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're my godparents.
They're your godparents. So you fill me in
Yeah.
on that part. I know how I met him. I don't know how you met him.
Yeah. Well, I'm a convert, so I didn't have godparents. And so I guess it was about, oh, gosh, I think it was like 2015 up in Pennsylvania. I was driving through with a priest friend of mine, and he took me out to this kind of family retreat, and it was a bunch of CFRs um and a bunch of families out there. And so I was kind of bunking with the CFRs, and I had been Catholic a few months, I think, maybe four months. And so we were playing music, playing songs, and kind of doing a little house party tour. And I met this family, the Walters, and I ended up becoming friends and just talking around the campfire with them all night and met them, and they never left my life, thankfully. And they're such good people, and they've been such a huge blessing. And so a few years ago we were at a wedding, and they've just always stayed in contact. They've been praying for me and praying, when I was dating and looking for a wife. They were praying for Kayla the whole time. And so they were just so good to me. And we ran into them at a wedding a few years back, and they were like, I asked them, I was like, hey, I don't have godparents. Will you be my godparents? And well, we already are, so you don't have a choice. And so it's kind of how it happened.
Solid.
And so they're
Yeah.
like family now.
Yeah, I
So
imagine.
really pretty random connection with them. You just cross paths.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I became Catholic. That's like all my relationships now. It seems
Yeah.
like is you meet people randomly on the road somewhere.
Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always say it's a small world, but it's an even smaller church.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so here we are, making a little triangle across the United States and
Yeah.
connecting. But so the Walters, I crossed paths with Paul and Susan. I think they just reached out. I got a little blog. And,
Yeah.
so, yeah, they caught on to
Sounds
that
about right.
somewhere, and then I got the letters in the mail and the pictures of the family and stuff.
I
It's
love
Yep.
super
that.
good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's funny because a few years ago, Susan called me and she was like, "Look for a package in the mail," and it was your book, The Catholic Cowboy Way. And so I read that, and that's how I first heard about you.
Yeah, solid,
Yeah,
man. No, this is good. I'm thankful for that connection. They're fun folks for sure, and
absolutely.
Nice.
but this is great. I love the kind of the work you're taking on and doing and stuff.
Thanks.
It's a great cause, and I don't know, it just taps into, something you already love, sounds like, and then just combining that with the faith and just it's got all the ingredients.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, so let's, maybe a little foundation because you got a little cliffhanger. You weren't Catholic. You weren't born Catholic. How'd that go down?
Yeah, kind of a blur. I moved to Nashville when I was 18 to be in the music business. Got a degree at Belmont University, rushed through college, just got out as soon as I could, graduated in 3 years, 3.5 years, I guess. And wanted to work on Music Row. My dad was a songwriter growing up. He had a landscaping business down here in Texas. And so he was landscaping during the day and then writing songs at night with friends and making trips back and forth to Nashville. And he had the opportunity to kind of like, write songs full time, but turn it down to keep us down here close to our grandparents and family. And so when I was 18, I wanted to move to Nashville. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write songs like he did. And so I moved up there, and all I wanted to do was write songs, be famous, and make a lot of money getting songs on the radio recorded by country artists. And chase that. It was pretty empty. And somewhere along the lines, halfway into my 10 years in the 10-year town, I had realized, oh, hey, when I go to church, I grew up Methodist. And so I realized I was going to a non-denom church, trying a Methodist church. I had tried every church in Nashville. But I had realized that, hey, when I go to church on Sundays, my week was a little bit smoother during the week. I felt more grounded and more steady. And that was kind of the first thing that clicked. And so I had been going to church on Sundays for a while again, kind of found a church that I was going to. And I came home one night. I was dating a girl, and we had an argument on the way to church. So we were like, you know what? You're going to go back to your place. I'm going to go back to my place, and we'll just go to church separate. And so I go back to my apartment. My roommate is having a reversion. He grew up he's Irish and grew up Catholic. And he goes, well, hey, you want to go to mass with me? I said, sure. I'm like, it's Jesus, whatever. And I'd never been to mass before. And so that was like 2012, I think, somewhere around there. And I ended up going to mass with him that night. And I had tried all these churches in Nashville, and I knelt down on the kneeler because I saw everybody kneeling down praying. I was like, well, I'll pray. And so I prayed, and I'm not a crier, but tears just started coming down my face, and I was overwhelmed. And I just knew I was home. That was the thought in my head before I'd heard any of this, like Rome Sweet Home or like Come Home to the Catholic Church. Like before I'd heard that, the words in my head were, this is home. And I just knew, and that opened something. And from there, it just snowballed. And here I am. About 3 years later, I decided to actually, be Catholic, but it all just snowballed from that moment.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's real,
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Lord spoke to you in the pews. That's
Yeah.
it's kind of cool too that like it was super personal. It wasn't necessarily like, well, I read these books and so I'll go check it out. It was like, no, I landed and I
Yeah.
experienced him. That's beautiful.
I had no intentions of becoming Catholic that
Yeah.
day.
No, good, man. It's a
Wow.
journey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we're still on it. That's great. So, Kayla, you what's your story? You raised Catholic? How's this go down?
Yeah, I was actually raised Catholic, so I'm a cradle Catholic. I grew up in the church every Sunday. I was thinking when Bradley was talking, I was like, I don't know what it's like to not go to church on Sunday. Like, I never experienced that, even in college when I was kind of off on my own, doing my own thing. Like, it was, we were taught, like, you get your butt to church on Sunday. So, that's what I did. And I absolutely loved it. And I grew up very, very, like, devout and in my youth group, and then went to college and became a counselor at a Catholic camp. And after that, I became the youth minister at our church. And I did that. I was a high school youth minister for a really large program down here in Texas. And that's actually where Bradley and I met and got to know each other. And so, yeah, I've always been Catholic. It's always been my passion. I love speaking. I love praying. I love singing. I love all of it. So I don't know a time in my life where I've ever not like been in the church or a part of it, but just learned over the years more and more what it's about. So it's been a really fun journey, especially getting to see the other side of things through Bradley's eyes and kind of seeing differences of like, oh, that's, a lot of people don't understand that about the faith, or a lot of people don't know that or grow up in that. Like, I don't know any different, but he knew a different life outside of it. And so I think those are always interesting things that we get to talk about and like work through or have really cool discussions about. And he teaches me a lot of the time, especially since, a lot of the time he went through way more formation than I did. So yeah, that was a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, praise God for your family and laying such a strong foundation. And I don't know, it's just fun that everyone's journey is unique, I don't mine has similarities. I was born Catholic and all that, but I remember probably the most decisive moment in my life was like that first Sunday on my own, 18. It's like, okay, it's up to me, thanks be to God I kept going. And I had good foundation too, but still I didn't skip a beat, and a lot of people do. So all right, good for you guys, yeah. Well, that's fun, yeah. So I bet the journey continues for you in the faith, right? It's not like it never
Yeah.
arrived.
Oh yeah.
That was the most frustrating thing. I think I was going through it when it was RCIA, and so in RCIA they would always say, "Oh, this is just the beginning," and for me, it was like, "Don't tell me that." No, I'm crossing a finish line right here. I've wanted this for a few years. I'm crossing a finish line, but it really is. It's so true. I didn't want to hear it at the time when I was becoming Catholic, but I mean, it is like being Catholic today is so different than it was when I came into the church in 2015.
Sure.
It's yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, I mean, now it sounds like, and we'll get to it, the kind of your music and stuff, but like now it's kind of the overarcher, I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of just informing everything you do, it sounds like, and
Yep.
Yeah.
ideally too. So, well, good. So then, all right. So you answered a little bit of your music background. Your dad was into songwriting and stuff too, huh? And so you
Yeah.
grew up in the industry a bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was always pretty normal to me. A lot of the people who were coming over to my house growing up and writing songs with my dad and went on to have hit songs and be an artist or songwriters in Nashville. And so I just kind of grew up and that's like all I knew. It didn't seem like it seemed very normal to me. And so I was like, well, that's what I'm gonna do. And so there was just never another thought about it. I mean, from I guess sixth grade on, I remember I found out there was a college in Nashville called Belmont University. So, the thing was go get a degree. And so it's like I knew that there was this music business degree, it was a BBA in music business. And in sixth grade, I heard about that and never thought never thought of anything else. And I was told, oh, when I was about to graduate high school, oh, you got to apply to all these colleges, and I applied to Belmont, and that was it. I started my form for TCU. I was like, I'm gonna hold off a minute, and sure enough, in December it came through, and the acceptance letter from Belmont came through, and I was like, okay, I'm done. That's where I'm going. And so there was just there's no looking back. But yeah, I joke that I wanted a record deal when I was moving to Nashville. I had no thought of wanting to become Catholic, but becoming Catholic was a far greater gift than a record deal ever would have been.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so good to see, especially at this stage in the game. Like you still got a long road ahead of you, like good future ahead of you. You're not, figuring this out retrospect.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I'm always intrigued by songwriters. So I haven't crossed paths with too many, but people like I always think of like songs just like kind of coming to your mind out of the blue or something. But it sounds
Yeah.
like songwriters will just like, okay, I'm gonna get together with this guy at this time and we're gonna sit down and write a song. Does that
Yeah.
actually happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's how it does happen. But I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I mean, definitely for me, everybody's got their process. There's some writers that are just really like regimented in town, and they'll write from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They'll write 2 times a day and have their meetings. I guess it is. I mean, it is a craft, so it's just like anything else, any other kind of creative craft. Um, you got to put in the time and you got to learn the craft and use it. But a lot of the times, the best part of it is I've got like a notepad of just a bunch of ideas or lyrics, and usually everybody does. And so you come into a write. A lot of it's co-writing in Nashville is what I love, and you're creating together, and you come into a room, and everybody's got their ideas, and you just kind of sit and start talking about something. You got your guitar, and then all of a sudden something clicks, and then you just start going on that idea. And sometimes you come out with a song that you love, and sometimes you get a song, sometimes you just get an idea, and sometimes you just sit in a room and stare at each other. But it's just about putting yourself in the room and just being there for that time slot, and trying to create. And what I learned later on was allowing the Holy Spirit to guide that process and to actually allow God to create with you and to create with God. So yeah, it's kind of always been the same process. Now it's just a little bit different, and I'm more conscious of what I am writing, and making sure that it's aligned with my faith.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, which is a huge task to be aware of because music is so influential. And yeah, that's interesting. Makes sense. I guess, like you say, it's a craft, I
Yeah.
mean, you can learn it, and there's strategies to it and things like that. And So that takes some of the mystery away, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so, yeah, I was thinking, especially now as you're talking about, writing kind of with God, being inspired at the Holy Spirit, things. It's just like that always it's kind of a co-creativeness, co-creation,
Mhm.
you're working together there and whatever it is a guy does, it's,
Yeah.
you can work together and so was it always country music for you?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, you're Texas,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, that's yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, we've got our own Texas music scene down here, and so, that's what my dad wrote, and, it's just that there was nothing else really. I mean, when I was growing up, I strayed out into like pop and rock and some other things. What was in the popular culture at the time, but it was just always country music. I loved the stories, and since I was a kid, I'm not. I wear a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, but I'm not a real cowboy like you. And I I'm not. I don't call myself a cowboy, but I've just always been fascinated by that way of life, and that's all I wanted to be growing up too, was a cowboy. My parents made me a video for my third birthday. It was my dad wrote a song and made a music video called Cowboy Bradley, and he wrote a song for me, so I had my own like cowboy theme song growing up
So
that I
good.
loved. But yeah, so it's always been country music. It's always clicked with me. What I love so much about it is, one, the craft of songwriting, but two, within the songwriting, there's just so much room to tell different types of stories. And the stories were the lyrics were what really drew me to country music. The stories behind that too, because my dad was. It's probably because he was a lyricist, is a lyricist. He's still alive writing songs, but yeah, you could tell stories that you couldn't tell in other genres, and they were a lot of them aligned with faith. A lot of the time, and so it was always country music.
That's cool. What's your era? Who are your guys growing up?
George Strait, and I mean George Strait and Garth Brooks were the ones, growing up that I probably heard the
What's
most.
your when did you graduate high school? I got that's something I always my,
2006.
okay, so I don't got 10 years on you, but I'm there.
Okay, yeah.
I'm 98. So,
Yeah.
but, okay, yeah, go
It's all
on
the
'cause
same
I'm
stuff,
listening.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I mean yeah, go ahead.
no, like those like Garth Brooks, you know, um, man, like he really set that country music era on fire in the '90s, and there's a ton of good guys
Yeah,
before him, and you always kinda think about the guys in your, 10 to 20 era, that's probably just your influential era years anyway, but
yeah,
he got good stuff, man. I mean, that was my I mean, he wasn't the only one, but that was my
yeah,
go.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved Garth, and I mean, Steve Wariner, Vince Gill, Alan Jackson, George Strait, Clint Black, like, that's what I remember being on the radio growing up. And then, like you said, later on in my like teenage years and stuff, I mean, there were definitely more bands, but those were the staples, and those were the guys that I was digging through their CD inserts, looking at the songwriters and reading the lyrics and learning to write songs. Like I loved doing that. My dad and I would stay up on Friday nights, or Saturday, the weekend, and he had work tapes, just songs that he'd written. They'd sung into an old cassette tape and put on a little cassette tape, and we'd go through songs, listen to his stuff and stuff that he had from other guys. And he had old tapes of like Keith Urban and Tim McGraw and these new guys that were like in town passing around their tapes and writing songs. And so I had all these old work tapes of these guys that I just like loved listening to. But he would, sit down and talk to me about songs and lyrics and songwriters, so much so that we could go listen to songs on an album, and him and I could go back and forth guessing who wrote those songs, because we knew what writers were hot in town and like how they wrote, and you could like get a sense of like what their flavor was that they were adding to a song. Like Dean Dillon's one of those guys. He wrote a ton of George Strait songs, but his songs are so conversational. And Dean Dillon, I think, actually, if you watch his tour schedule, I think he makes it up to Wyoming sometimes, if I remember correctly. But he plays that Western circuit from what I remember, maybe not anymore, but he's a great songwriter and written so many huge hit songs on the radio, but just really great conversational songs. And that was one of the guys that I watched to learn how to write songs. And so, you could always that was one you could always tell was if someone had recorded a Dean Dillon song, it just had Dean Dillon written all over it. So I loved that. That was
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fascinating. I mean, that's a definitely behind the scenes kinda take of
Mhm.
country music that I never thought of or knew of, looked into much.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Mhm.
Kayla, so what's your country connection?
I have none. I
Me.
yeah, Bradley.
That's cool.
I mean, I grew up
Mhm.
and I liked country music, but
Yeah.
I didn't know anything, and then it's like when I started dating him, which is actually how one of the things that we, like, got connected through was music, 'cause I'm sing and I do love music, but it was never like, "Oh, country music is, like, my thing, I'm a songwriter," like, not my thing. We tried to write a song together and
Hey, it
it
worked. It
it worked
worked.
for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for that. I'm like, "I gotta go do something." But yeah, so I don't really have a country connection, but it's been fascinating getting to hear, like, kinda like you said, Father, like, the behind the scenes into the, like, songwriter process and, I things I would have never thought about in the country music or just in music in general. I It's been such a learning experience getting to be with Bradley and learn all those things, and now I get to, like, have firsthand experience where he's like, "Oh, yeah, I wrote this song today," and I'm like, "You need to put this on the radio immediately. I don't know how we get that there, but you need to send this to somebody. We need to do something." So, I just get to be the cheerleader, I
Yeah.
think.
It's
Since I
it's funny because her and her sister said something to me one time, I think when we were dating about, country music, and I was like,
Which one?
I never thought about it, but they're like, "Oh, well, country music's more of like a summer thing," and I was like, I never thought about, like, music being summer
Season?
songs. I'm
It
like,
is.
my life is country music.
Kenny
Like,
Chesney on a
it's country music for every season, but for a lot of people, it's fascinating
Mhm,
to hear how, people who aren't creating music, like, listen to music and how they enjoy
mhm,
it, and that was I always thought, when I met my wife, that she was like, that's what she was gonna love about me was that I wrote country music and she loved country music, and that's how I was gonna get a girl. And that was the humbling and beautiful part of meeting her was that I was humbled and she could care less. She's always been very supportive, but she could care less about that part of me, which is great because I think for a long time and maybe still at times, my identity was in that I could write songs or that I was associated with country music in some way, like that I went to do this thing in Nashville, and it's just it wasn't a good place to have my identity. Anywhere other than Christ is going to be detrimental, I think. But yeah, super humbling. She was not a country fan.
Yeah, I mean, like, those genres, though, like, Garth Brooks he could fill, New York Park, like, Park Central, like, in New
Yeah.
and, like, I mean, he just play all over the world, and so country music, it does, like, touch a common chord in all of us, I think, and, you get into some more of the cowboy music, so
Yeah.
I'm here so Chris Ledoux is just down the road. So
Yeah.
Casey, Wyoming is in Johnson County. I go down there to celebrate mass, so
Oh, awesome.
he's in the cowboy music sphere,
Yeah.
and it's not as universally relatable. It's still cool, but country
Well,
music in a lot of ways.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the reason I know about Chris Ledoux and so many people did was because of Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
And it mentioned
Right,
Ledoux in
right.
his song,
Mhm.
and well, I mean, he was in his own right too, in his cowboy sphere, like he was like his own. But that's how I found out who Chris Ledoux was through Garth Brooks, and Garth Brooks was such a huge fan of Chris Ledoux, and so it's cool how things like that happen, and those two are connected in my mind for me. But yeah, does Ned Ledoux ever play up there? Because he plays down
Yeah.
here quite a bit.
They were putting on a Ledoux Days show every summer for the last 20 years.
Oh,
Last year was
really?
their last year, and Ned would play for that, and so I've seen
That's
him
cool.
play. Yeah, I don't think I've met him, but, yeah, and I
Did
I
you
know
meet Chris Ledoux?
I've been to his concerts,
Okay.
growing up. I went to a concert or 2, and, so I feel like I know him, but,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I kinda call him a little bit of like a kind of the equivalency of a saint in the cowboy world, because
Mm,
he's more famous after his death than when he was alive.
yeah.
In a lot of ways, like, I don't discredit when, because he was popular around
Yeah.
here then, but he's even more popular now, I'd say, making it into other people's songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One name that comes to mind, because I mean, it's fun to just get like off the radio and kind of find some, different guys like yourself, Ned. Chancey Williams is from
Yeah.
up these parts. And then, do you know Paul Bogart? Does that?
I know the name. I
Yeah,
don't know why though.
he's a songwriter and singer, and a little older than us. And a buddy of mine's pretty good friends with him, and he'll come play some of the gigs up in Wyoming. I think he's in
Oh, cool.
Oklahoma, but cowboy roper kind of guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, just fun connections, and that's cool. That's just where I'm an old rodeo or radio guy, so like 95.3, 100.3
Yeah.
kind of stuff, but that's hard to do these days because
Yeah.
everything's digital. But so I've got satellite radio, so prime country on satellite radio.
Oh yeah.
But they always talk about the storytellers of the 80s and 90s, so I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Those are those songs you can get into. So
Yeah. I mean, Chris Ledoux is one of those guys too,
yeah.
It's funny, Chris Ledoux, I think he passed away my junior or senior year of high school because he had played, but he was going to play Billy Bob's. I was like, oh, that would be really cool to go see him. Billy Bob's is a huge dance hall down here, and I didn't go see him, and then he passed away not too long after that, and so I missed my only chance to go see Chris Ledoux. And
Yeah.
I think about that all the time for some reason. I don't know why.
Well,
Regrets.
yeah, we move forward, but I do like what you say, and it sounds like you're nailing it. Because I mean, like you got a good pulse on where you're at. Is for so long my identity was kind of bound up in being a country music singer or songwriter thing, and now my identity is in Christ, like firmly founded in Christ, and I just say that's more properly ordered for all of us.
Mhm.
For sure.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a few years since I read it, but I believe in your book you talked about that a little bit in the way, kind of in the same way where you wanted a cowboy and you wanted to work cattle or be on a ranch or something like that, and you didn't know that that would be a possibility being a priest, and you went and joined the priesthood, and you're still able to do that. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
no, it's
am I
part of the
remembering that
journey.
correctly?
That's part of the journey, and how I kind of speak of that dynamic now is like I'm a son before I'm a father. So, and I always kind of say it because it's like, hey, you're a priest, you can't be saying stuff like that. But I mean, they're like theologically, we're baptized Christians before we're married or before we're ordained, and that doesn't go away. So I mean, it's still like foundational. The two are like super intertwined. But if you start just always trying to live in the mission mode, which is true, but if that's like where you're finding your identity, you're caught up in that, and you're not dwelling out of that wellspring of your relationship with dad, uh, it can get disordered, So it's a constant. I always say like staying in the saddle is sonship, and then that everything else has its proper place, and it's even more effective, So mission and relationships, things like that, and so, but man, especially when you're in a bit of the limelight, where you're kind of trying to put yourself out there. I'm sure it's even a little bit more of a challenge to keep that right order. And so, yeah, good on you. Stay on it, man.
Appreciate it. Trying. We don't, most days I don't know what I'm doing, and God keeps showing me that. So
Yeah.
I can't take myself too seriously. I actually I heard a quote the other day that I loved. I think it was actually in the Word Among Us in one of the stories. There was a quote from a rabbi, I think, or a rabbi was quoting another rabbi, and they were saying that he took God so seriously that he had no need to take himself seriously. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong.
Mhm.
I'm taking myself too seriously at times. And so that's something I'm trying to learn and to not do, is just take God more seriously than himself. And
Mhm.
I've got her to humble me and
Thanks.
yeah.
Such a
It's
fun job.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. See, yeah, that's a great relationship. I mean, in general, as far as a kind of a career stuff. So, but you guys are working together? Do you team up?
Oh,
Yeah.
we teamed up, all right.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I do for Catholic country specifically. When I was a youth minister, I stopped a few years ago, and then I do also Catholic pilgrimages, so I do that as well. But this started over the last year that Bradley and I were really praying about it, and it just became apparent that there's a lot for us to do, and that it would be it's kind of in my gifts to be able to like go out and just talk to people and um do his booking, which I've never done booking before, but I've never done anything like that. I just was like, okay, I can talk to, I mean, a brick wall. So just tell me who you want me to reach out to or what I should be doing. So I do that side of things and then take care of our son too. So it's a mix, but
Yeah. Trying to find the balance, you know, she does a great job of it. It's just, there's so many options and the world's so busy that we're like, well, what if we worked on one thing together? And as we
Mhm.
were praying through that, God just started kicking open doors. And that's kind of what we've told him our whole marriage is like,
Yeah.
kick open the doors and push us through it. And we'll walk through, but shut anything down that you don't want. And over the last year, he just started busting doors open, and so we started working towards that together, and
Yeah.
just seeing where he's taking us, trying to balance family and work and our faith, and not trying to do the best we can at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
been fun.
what's this Catholic country do thing? I heard you say that. What is that?
Yeah, so I had a friend of mine, I guess a little over a year and a half ago, probably
Mm.
almost 2 years ago, say, "Hey, man, every time we get together, you're talking about." I had become disenchanted with country music, and I was like, "Man, I've spent wasted all this time on music, and I'm Catholic now, and like I'm always there's just so much stuff in country music. Sometimes the lyrical content specifically that I just found myself like." Turning the radio off or turning on another song or just driving in silence or listening to Gregorian chant or something because it was just like, man, like I don't enjoy it anymore. Something was like nagging at me. And had been talking to him about that. His name's Joe Haggard. He's actually down here at University of Dallas. He's a videographer over there. And he was telling me, man, you're always talking about this anytime we get together about how, country music and your faith or you feel like they're uh, fighting each other, pulling on each other. And he said, I don't think you're a country artist anymore. Cause at that point I had left Nashville because I had a song on radio in Texas and about 60 stations across the state and a few others started playing it. So it got me on radio, which started a career doing music full time, writing and playing. And it got me in a whole bunch of doors. And thankfully I was able to make a living for a good while doing that. And I had toyed around with the idea of doing it on the side, and he was just like, "Man, I don't think you're a country artist anymore. I think you're a Catholic country artist." And I was like, "I don't want anything to do with that. No, thank you. I appreciate it." And I had my reasons for that, and I just kept trying to push it away. But he, not too long after he said that, I got a call to go do this big Catholic event in Nashville. A ton of people are going to be there, and they were asking me to come play country music. They're like, "Hey," a friend of mine, our friend of ours, Johnny Phillip, had said, "Hey, uh, I put you up for this gig. They found out you're Catholic and do country music. They want you to come play country music for their party." It's like, okay, great. So I went and did that. And then not too long after that, another event came. And then another friend called me and was like, "Hey, can you come play country music for the celebration of like their like 50th anniversary or something like that at this other parish?" And these doors just started opening. And then I was like, all right, God, like I see these doors. If I'm going to do this, what didn't I do right previously in the music business? Because COVID kind of shut down me doing music full time. And I was just kind of like, I was one of the few musicians here in Texas that made music during COVID just because we had certain leniencies on the restrictions and stuff. But um, I kind of just like put it on the back burner a little bit. And these doors started busting open. I was like, God, here are the things I'm not doing. I wasn't doing right before, and I'm going to learn and I'm going to do these things better. And one of those is marketing and social media and being better about sharing my faith. Cause I always kind of beat around like, that I became Catholic. It was more like I would say, my come to Jesus moment, right? And trying to play with the crowd or whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna start speaking more bluntly about it. And so I started, putting stuff out there and sharing posts and stuff like that, and just sharing a little bit more of my journey. And sure enough, people go, "Oh, it's Catholic country." And I'm like, okay, well, I guess there's something here. And so we just prayed that prayer together again, just like, hey, God, if you want it, bust the doors open. If you don't want it, shut it down, and we'll just keep steadily walking. And so that's what we've been doing is just country music. I think you said it earlier. Just music does it. Influences the culture and it shapes the culture. And right now, country music. Thanks to some artists out there that have just blown up. Um, Country music really is influencing the culture, and there's some really great stuff that can come from that, and there's some really bad stuff too. So it's like, well, maybe I can start speaking you know into that place, and just speaking up about it. And a lot of it is the lyrical content, and you've got these families listening to country music and kids listening to it, and they're just, a lot of the lyrics, a lot of times, some of the time, not all of them, but are just speaking about things you don't want around your family, or aren't something that kids should uh be idolizing. And so yeah, that's so Catholic, that's what Catholic country has become. And we're just walking with it every day, praying about it, and um just using country music to share the gospel and share our faith journeys.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good tagline. I like the title. I hadn't heard it before. That's awesome, man. I wanna get your take too, Kayla, but the one just for well, it's on. Well, so I've got Yeehaw Amen, the album.
Oh,
And yeah, so and I do just like I really like Be a Kid, you
oh,
know?
thanks.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just dig it, and then this had come from another venue. A buddy of mine had sent me like a link to a talk, maybe like on Instagram or something that you did about
Mm.
dedicating that song to Saint Therese.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, so I just it's almost like, so are you kind of, I mean, you're not necessarily like singing about the Eucharist per se, but
No.
your songs are very much in line, not just with Catholic theology, but just the fullness of Christianity and things like
Mm.
that, would you say?
Mhm.
I mean, that's what we're, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. I've said that the songs, I'm not opposed to writing the Eucharist into a song. It's just sometimes it's going to be a really unique song and
Yeah.
rhyme to put
Mhm.
Eucharist in there.
Yeah.
And
That's a big
and
word.
yeah, and I don't want to dumb anything down
Mhm.
or water down the message of the church, but I've found that um country music can be used, like songs can be used like parables in a way to bring people closer in order to encounter Christ. And so that's what I've tried to do with my music. And so, we talk a lot about like, well, how can songs be more Catholic? How can they, what can we say that hasn't been said? And um, you know, I think honestly, Be a Kid, you mentioned, is probably the most Catholic song to me that I've written, because it was inspired directly by Saint Therese, who was one of my confirmation saints when I came into the church, and one of the first saints I was introduced to on my Catholic journey. And so it was directly inspired by her. And so I was like, well, I can start dedicating my songs to saints and asking them to pray for the people who hear these songs, and um, that they can come to know Christ. And so I was like, well, why don't we do that? But yeah, so that's, the songs to me are more like parables, but I would love to write uh, a more overtly Catholic song. But when that inspiration comes, I guess God will give it to me.
No, perfect. Like you want to follow your heart, right? And you can't force things, and I dig it because it's not it is super effective. I always say, being Catholic is about being fully human,
Hmm.
which incorporates all those just dimensions of normal life and stuff. And so Yeah, I was kind of wondering. You explained it well. I can see, you're not kind of going the Matt Maher route, which is great.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but it's very distinct. You got to stay in your lane, and if that day comes, great. So,
Yeah.
well, so go ahead and respond to that if you got something.
Oh, me?
Yeah, no, okay.
Uh,
So, Kayla, what excites you about this Catholic country music? I
yeah.
mean,
What
or
excites you
Catholic
about this?
country? What does it kind of like tap into your
Uh,
heart and just like this is, just in
I
your own way? Yeah.
yeah, I think what brings me life or what makes me excited is that I get to see Bradley like put two of the things that he loves the most together. Like before Bradley spoke a little bit about this, but like before we got married during COVID, like things were he was doing country music. It was going well. But it was a grind too. There was very much the music industry grind. And I think kind of we got married in 2021 and I really got introduced at that point. I mean, I had seen it before when we were dating, but really got introduced to it once we got married of like, okay, what does this mean? And like, what, does this look like for our life? And like, what are the things that go on behind closed doors to like get your music out there? What are the things that you have to do? Um, and it was just hard. I think it was just hard to see that and just be like, okay, yeah, like let's keep moving forward with this. And so the Lord kept drawing us into really random ways of living. Like we did some traveling. I quit youth ministry. Like Bradley had said, we were trying to figure out like what to do together. And you mentioned Yeehaw Amen, and that was our show that we did during COVID, where he was the Yeehaw part and I was the Amen. And um, yeah, it was super fun. It was just like goofy and nothing crazy, but it kind of grew into like this, like more and more as we kept going. Um, and over the last year and a half, our lives just kind of randomly and like they just changed a ton once both being Catholic and being country and being like having country music came together. I saw like Bradley come alive in so many different ways that I hadn't seen bring life to him before, when he was, before really trying to figure out how do I make both work, or like what's right about this, or really having to ethically like search through and sift through things. And once Catholic country kind of just the doors kept opening, it was like, okay, well, we need to keep seeing where this goes. But also, it was like, well, Bradley has life doing this and can talk about his faith. And he is so bold about his faith and um, very blunt in so many different ways too, which is one of the things that made me fall in love with him, was like very, very blunt about his faith, about what he believes, and how to live, and how it's a way of life. Like being Catholic is not just something you do on the weekend, or something that sometimes get to do, sometimes don't. It's like, this is always, and this is how we live our life, and these are the things that the Lord's calling us to. And that was so radical in a culture where it's not like that at all. Um, in college, I played very much this like game of like, I'm Catholic now and I'm not Catholic on the weekends, or, like just an in between. And Bradley was the clarity that I think the Lord really helped me be able to see, like, what does this way of life require? Um, and so doing Catholic country really brought both our family together, but also like I think really just connected Bradley in the sense of, now he's going to play at Catholic churches and he gets to do his testimony. He gets to talk about the miracles of his conversion. Like he has crazy miracles that happened during his conversion. Like I'm like, these things are crazy. Like I've never heard of Mary coming to me like in the middle of the night. Like that's amazing. Like he lights people on fire while, speaking, but also like weaving in his talks. And that's something that I am so passionate about, like getting to tell people about that. Like, it's like, wait a second, like this is something radically different than, you know, just having a concert or just having praise and worship. Not that those things are bad. It's just different, and it's exciting and new and fresh. And so all those things combined, obviously I get excited about it, but I think it's just something that the Lord has really got to put on both of our hearts to make us excited about it, and remind us that there's so much joy to what we're doing too. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's cool to hear that and like see
Yeah.
what goes together. But I mean, that really, like, that is cowboy. I always kind of say, like, cowboys aren't born, they're discovered, and like, and what you guys are doing, like the trail blazing that you're doing, like, that's
Yeah.
cowboy,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. And so so if you go out and do a venue, it's like an average venue look like kind of sing a song, share testimony, sing a song. What's it look
You
like?
like the show or the actual venue? Yeah, because
Well,
the venues have been
tell me about it.
crazy different lately.
Okay, yeah, well, tell me what
Yeah,
some of them have
but
been.
in
Yeah.
a great way, in a great way. It's funny, I was on a podcast recently, and someone was talking about what's your ideal venue, and I was like, man, I'd be lying if I said I would never want to play in a stadium. Like, there's just so many cool things that you can do there, but I really don't, that's like not a driving desire anymore. I always loved like the Bluebird Cafe. I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville, but the Bluebirds where they would sit in a round and there's four songwriters at a time usually, and they're sharing their songs and their stories. And I've always loved those small venues, and where it's 25 to 100 people. And honestly, that's like my ideal venue now. And it's like a storytelling venue. You're getting to play songs, you're getting to actually interact with people, um, and actually just,
Mhm.
have an experience together. You're getting to meet and experience other people, and you're getting to share your testimony. You're getting to experience God together and fellowship. And actually, that's like my ideal venue now. That's kind of what the venues have been. It's like some nights it's going out. I was in Fort Wayne recently, and I played to a couple hundred people. I think 150, somewhere around there, for like a small concert evening, and then played in Pflugerville, Texas, outside of Austin, the week or so before that, and that was about 30 young adults that I'm teaching to two-step with her. And it's just like these different kinds of venues, but it's so funny, the crowds are smaller than what I dreamed of going to Nashville, but it's so much more fulfilling, and I'm actually seeing God work in these shows, in these venues. And so, typically if you're talking about the show, like usually, um, I always have a set list, but it's funny, since we've been doing these shows, the Holy Spirit kind of guides it, and each one looks a little bit different. Like that young adults group that I did that night, I had my set list, and they were kind of like saying an opening prayer, and going through some notes that they had, and it was just the Holy Spirit was like, you got to get them up and get them to dance. And they were all sitting like in a row straight in front of me, and it's like young adults that aren't married. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna teach who knows how to two-step, and we got them up, and Kayla came over, and there was this other kid who was in there, Miguel, and he's a songwriter, and he was like, I want to write some Catholic country music. I was like, all right, well, you got any songs? Like, let's put them on right now. And we put some songs over the speakers, and we got out there and taught them to two-step. And then once they got going, I got up and I started playing George Strait and Toby Keith and a couple other things. And then I got to start going into testimony and sharing songs. And so it looks kind of different every night. But those, I mean, I'm playing the ideal venues now, like these
Yeah.
ideal shows. It's so much more fulfilling than getting to go and play a big arena. I would assume I've never played a big arena, so but that used to be the driver, was getting to do these big tours or having your name in lights or whatever. And it just seems vain now. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. And there's so many people that do it, and they do it really well. And it's not taking anything away from them. Everybody's got their gifts, but it's just not what I'm chasing anymore. And honestly, I don't think we're chasing anything anymore. We're chasing God. We're trying to be saints together, and that's what we're chasing. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what shows and venues look like now.
Solid. That's bold, man, to like, okay, we're gonna mix it up on the fly and get people up dancing when that wasn't part of the
Yeah,
plan. That's that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. I do tell I one of the things that I share when I'm like trying to like talk to people about like what are you like I'm being the one that's like trying to get a feel for what they need. And I always like to tell people, like, like, it can go from, we don't want dancing, like, let's just have like a, testimony concert weaving in like the Catholic faith, about the culture, like all that kind of stuff. Or it can be like, we're going to talk about theology of the body. Everybody's going to get up. He's going to get people dancing. Like, we're going to like have fun. Like, it's going to get rowdy. Like, it's so fun. Like, it's just so different based on what each like gigs or each event's needs are.
Yeah.
Um, and it's fun to see what people like also want. And then Bradley praying with Holy Spirit at the same time. And like, you know, in that show with the young adults, it was so different than anything I've ever seen him do. And so we talked after that, and he's like, yeah, the Holy Spirit was just like, let's go, like, let's get him up. And like, they had so much fun. And so it's really fun to see you pray with, the Holy Spirit while you're doing a gig at the same time, and seeing like, okay, filling the room, getting just a vibe for everything. And that's fun to see happen. So yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to do.
No, I bet. Yeah, I'm just thinking of different venues up here. Like, yeah, man, we could come up with some good uh from fundraisers to talks to whatever. It's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to kind of relate to being in your shoes a little bit. Like, I mean, for one, you're like, there's a desire, way back in
Mhm.
6th grade, whatever. There's a
Yeah.
desire, and that keeps motivating you. And now you're finding more of the fulfillment, like these venues coming together, being, Catholic and country. And then that
Mhm.
really takes off, and takes a life of its own. And,
Yeah.
but you still kind of feeling it out a little bit. Um,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know just a little, it's kinda I've done a couple speaking gigs, and, like, I've
Mhm.
fallen flat sometimes, like, people don't come back the next time. But what I did kinda shift in my mind, like, in that went from, like, preaching to teaching, and then it's like, oh, it was the same crowd, but it was just, like, such a different mode of operation that then you
Mhm.
can, like, get creative and stuff. I don't know, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
anyway, that's good. I'm glad you're finding this.
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. It's been a journey. Kind of piggybacking on something Kayla was saying earlier. I can't remember what it was exactly, but uh, uh, thought crossed my mind. Like one of the things that actually drew me to you, but also in reading your book, drew me in was that finding your book. Susan, my godmother, Susan Walters, sent me the book, and she knew that I needed to read the book. But until I found you, I was like, oh, there's actually other people out there who are Catholic who might like country music, who
Mhm.
actually like the things that I grew up with
Mhm.
or that I was fascinated by growing up. And I just didn't know there was I came into a great community. I was in Nashville. Everybody was great. But, in both in Dallas where I grew up and in Nashville, there was this very like almost like picture perfect Catholic. It was like very trad. Like I don't wear three-piece suits, and I don't like. There's just certain things that I didn't do, and it's not because it was good or bad. It's just like it wasn't me, and I didn't want to put on a. I'll dress nice to go to mass, but like I'm not going to dress up to be something that I'm not. It was this kind of like thought that I had, and it was like, well, that's one thing that I just haven't seen a lot in the Catholic faith, but apparently is out there and people want. It's like, how do we normalize Catholicism? How do we, show that like this picture perfect Catholic that we see online or on social media, this isn't what all Catholics look like. And so I think for some people, especially in country music, especially, Protestants and Protestant friends, and it's a Protestant dominant industry, I think. Country music is the genre. It's like there's so many Catholics out there that love country music too. And so many Protestants are afraid of Catholicism, and it's just, you have this one image of what it looks like, and really it's the universal church. There are so many different Catholics. There's so many different backgrounds, cultures, and the cowboy culture and the country music culture. Like there's Catholics out there that love country music and love the Western lifestyle, love the cowboy lifestyle. We grew up in Texas, out in the Panhandle or out in West Texas or just west of here where we are. Like, then their lives look totally different than it looks like here between Dallas and Fort Worth. And that's kind of one thing that we've tried, or hoping to do. Like it's been, we especially saw in that young adults night is like, hey, look, living your faith isn't boring. And it doesn't mean that you have to listen to Gregorian chant all the time or only CCM praise and worship music. Like you can listen to country music. And our big thing for us is like normalizing that and showing what being Catholic looks like. But also the second part of that is just like being conscious of the type of media that we're consuming and what's the music you're playing in your car on the drive home when you pick your kids up from school or whatever, wherever it is, or when you're having barbecues on the weekend, like they're learning. And
Very.
um I joke quite often that my favorite songs growing up were drinking songs, and Friends in Low Places was like my song growing up. Now I didn't even know it was a drinking song, but it hit me. I was playing this winery here in Grapevine where I grew up. And these two little girls, Sarah and Samantha, came out with their parents every Tuesday night to see me. They were 5 and 7 at the time, I think. And Sarah wanted to sing Bradley's favorite song because I always talked about how Friends in Low Places was my favorite song. And she was, I want to sing it for my talent show. And the PTA was like, Sarah, you can't sing that song. And Sarah was determined. She was like, I'm going to sing that song. Why can't I? And her parents were like, well, it says this and this and this, and you can't mention alcohol. And so Sarah wrote her own version and she performed her own version. She was so determined. And I was like, oh, I never even thought about that. But firsthand was seeing, like, I don't, love the idea of my kids singing about getting drunk. And it's not, I didn't understand alcohol growing up. And so, I didn't drink till I was 21, but then I did. And I just didn't, there were no good examples in the culture of what does drinking look like. And as Catholics, I joke like, oh, well, we drink, we're not Southern Baptists. And in country music, you usually see two sides. You either see the very Puritan, we don't talk about, we don't touch alcohol, or you see, in country music, you see I know where I'm going. I know Jesus loves me. I'm going to drink as much as I can and hope he's going to forgive me of this. And then there was no one talking about, like moderation or, how you drink alcohol. And so, I did my best to write a song that I thought was a country song that could, talk about having a drink and dancing. It's called George on the Jukebox. But I started like having these thoughts of like, oh, hey, this is something that I was never taught. My parents didn't drink growing up. Um, and I think it was a huge gift, but I didn't know really how to handle it or where it fit. And the church has great perspectives on this and teachings like that. I wish the culture talked about a little bit more and people knew was available to them. So that's the second kind of part of what we're trying to do.
I love it, man. It's really good. And it's really impactful and influential. And I mean, you don't think about that stuff, but like Friends in Low Places is really low on the spectrum of being a questionable song, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but yet there are those things that, just kind of blindly, weave in, into your mind and it kind of can numb you or inspire you one
Mhm.
way or another. Media is
Yep.
powerful. And
Yeah.
Yep.
I just going back one thing is like, I mean, I think so the cowboy is like perennially attractive. Like it's just always
Mm.
kind of an attractive lifestyle.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I see it kind of resurfaced again. They got the Yellowstone stuff going on but I
Yeah.
think what is like universally admired about the cowboy way of life is the authenticity,
Mm.
and so it's so the idea well, I try to promote is like, hey, it's not about being a cowboy, it's about being yourself. So even
Mm.
you like, okay, I'm Catholic, but I'm not gonna try to fit into the box or the mold. I want to be myself, and that might not look like wearing the three-piece suit to mass, but
Yeah.
I want to be who God's created me to be, and that's part of the journey of life is finding that, finding myself, and the only way to
Mhm.
find yourself is to follow Christ. So
Mhm.
it's good stuff, and
Yeah.
that's gonna pay off in your music too. You can hear it. It's just
Yeah.
I
unbelievably
appreciate that.
yeah,
Well, tell me, you
awesome.
you said, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said something about Friends Little Places being low on the spectrum of like questionable songs. And I agree. And that's one of the things, like I don't think everybody who's doing country music needs to be a Catholic country artist. Like I think one thing I have seen in the music industry is when artists were authentically themselves, and whether you had labels or management companies like molding or shaping an artist, the ones that were really great a lot of times allowed the artist to really be themselves and to do what they did best. And so I would love to see more Catholic artists doing that. I mean, I think there are a lot of them out there that are doing it. But I also don't think, everybody has to be a Catholic country artist. But where do you think that fits in your opinion? Just like the lyrically, like I don't know that it's wrong to listen to like Friends in Low Places or any of these songs, but a lot of times it's just like, are we being conscious? Because you'll see it in bars and it's like the drinking song that everybody's buying shots and things go a little too far. It encourages, but I think that there is a place to like speak up and actually speak into that, because I feel like those moments in songs that where it's encouraging, whether it's the hookup culture or encouraging drunkenness or like encouraging sin of any sort, like it's speaking to a place that rises the soul to something. And really, I guess it wouldn't even rise. It's stirring the soul in possibly a downward direction, but in a way that just is building something up in you, and not always good. But I think that those moments too are places where if we were to really look at what the song's doing, and we're like, okay, instead of doing this, maybe this is an opportunity for me to go even deeper into, what's what this kind of moment that I'm trying to create, this or whatever emotion I'm trying to stir up with this idea of going out and getting drunk or going and, whatever it is. Like there for writers, I think there's an opportunity for them to go even deeper into intimacy with God and like the human experience, and to write something even more um impactful than that. So I don't, and anyway, I don't know if that's even a clear question, but I'm always asking because I see it as an opportunity. I don't see it necessarily as everything is a problem, but there's an opportunity there for artists and Catholic artists especially to go deeper into their craft and build something that you know moves culture in a better direction. But I also don't want to take anything away from some of the great country artists and artists that are out there, because there are some that are really trying to do some great stuff. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, this is definitely sandbox material, to just throw some dirt around a little bit, try to figure it out. But
Yeah.
so the things that come to my mind, I think there is, you kind of hear of like, well, that's adult material, and it usually means like, well, this is our way of doing something wrong and justifying it. But I do
Yeah.
think there is that area. So like Friends in Low Places isn't a bad song, but it's
Yeah.
probably not one you want your 10-year-old daughter singing at a talent show, right? I mean, but for us, like we can put it in its place. So I think there is
Yeah.
kind of a gradation on a good spectrum. But the other thing that comes to my mind is like, the good old boys back in Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and all those early guys, those
Mhm.
early storytellers, they would sing about like getting drunk and all that stuff, but they didn't glorify it. They
Mhm.
spoke of it as a like kind of a sad reality or something, it just touched like a human emotion. Like
Yeah.
I was so down because my woman left me that I was drinking it away. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just real,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but they didn't glorify it. And what you have today is you got a lot of glorifying of it,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that's really where it's off the rails. I
Yeah.
don't know if you could, because like our little motto here, the Catholic Cowboy Way, is to be raw and real. So you
Yeah.
don't wanna like gloss it over, and
Mhm.
I always tell my old man, like, sometimes you gotta cross the line to find it. So, like,
Sure.
he'll call me on my
Yeah.
blog post, he's like, "Hey, back it off," or something. Well, but,
That makes sense.
That's
so you
awesome.
gotta kinda push the limit sometimes a little bit just to find it, but I feel like what if you could speak about the raw and realness of life, the good, bad, ugly, and different, all that stuff, but then also then incorporate what we're actually looking for? You know, what's the real desire that I'm missing the mark on? Looking for love in all the wrong places, you know? I mean, it paints the picture of the low, but no, this is what I was really looking for, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could, it's pretty creative, but it's about being human, fully being human. Christ came that we may have life and have it to the full, It's meant to enculturate the world we live in and not be something just totally other. It's integration,
That's good. Love that. Thanks for that.
Well, go run with it, man. You guys are on Sunday here tonight. It's powerful and it's fun and it's, it's grassroots. I dig it all.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, you gave me a song idea there a minute ago. You said you got to cross the line to find it. And I was like, oh, that's good. And I like that.
Yeah. Get that notebook out.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
No, so good. This is fun material. It's good to get to know you guys. I definitely think you're on a great track, and I love that you got a direction. It's not, this isn't just ideas. Like we're putting this to the streets, and yeah, I could think of all sorts of venues from, school fundraisers to Catholic radio promos, different things I've been a part of up in these neck of the woods that I'm gonna keep your booking agent there on my speed dial.
You just called me up.
So fun. But yeah, I'll probably let you go, but there's just a lot of good material here for us to chew on, and
appreciate it.
Yeah, like you said, Kayla, maybe we can collab in the future,
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you need to write a song, Father. I mean,
yeah. Hey,
got somebody.
Yeah, I just can't sing it, so that's
that won't be the requirement. We promise we won't make you sing.
Yeah, it's so fun, but yeah, there's a lot to be said. I always say that I speak country music. Like I just like when I'm feeling something, that song comes up, whatever. It's just part of my fabric as well. So, but of all things, I always I love being cowboy. It's part of kind of who I am and stuff. But I really love being Catholic.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. And I can see that in you guys, that you love so many aspects of life, even country music, but like you really love being Catholic.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do.
Grateful
so
for it.
Up. Yeah, you got it properly ordered, so keep it up. I'm in your corner.
Thanks.
I appreciate it, Father.
All right. Well, let's until we meet again, which I'm sure will happen. You guys keep up the good work, and thanks for taking time to visit with us. It's
thank you.
Absolutely
inspiring. All right.
Yeah,
God bless
thank
y'all.
you.
Keep it up.
Thanks, Father.